Hello beautiful and not so beautiful people of the internet, and welcome. Today's topic is all about cultural appropriation, and I'm more than ready for it. Cultural appropriation isn't a fresh or recently discovered term in K-pop, and it is in fact as old as K-pop itself. That speaks a lot about how the K-pop industry. Before I move on, what is culture appropriation? According to Wikipedia, cultural appropriation is the inappropriate or unacknowledged adoption of annealment or elements of one's culture or identity by members of another culture or identity. In simpler words, cultural appropriation happens when members of a majority group adopt cultural elements of a minority group, but in a disrespectful manner. A black K-pop stan can't even begin to count the number of times an idol has allegedly committed the act, and it's beginning to get tiring. I am Ririste, and before anyone comes for me, I'll have you know that I'm a black and an African. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts towards cultural appropriation in the K-pop industry, and why black K-pop stans need to chill. My first point or chapter is acts of cultural appropriation in K-pop. The most recent act of cultural appropriation was committed by Jennie of Blackpink, and while I do not care much for her, it's frustrating to see that she doesn't seem to care about her black fans. A member of her group had also faced intense backlash for some of hairstyles in the past, but apparently she couldn't be bothered by it. Some other idols that faced backlash for appropriation include Bang Chan of Stray Kids, Hongjoon of ATEEZ, Kai of EXO, etc. Now, many non-black K-pop stans have been asking why it's such a big deal, as they're just hairstyles, but the people of the States don't feel that way. I say States because I personally don't think Africans get as pissed off as they do, and I'm speaking for myself and some of my African friends. While I don't agree with the quote-unquote, they insult us for carrying our natural hair and doing cornrows argument, there are some valid points that should be addressed. Number 1 being racism. Black people were and are still treated like pieces of shit because of our skin color. One of the many examples of K-pop idols, or Koreans in general, being racist to black people is the black face. Black people are seen as unclean as well, and our culture is perceived as one of thugs. So apparently, any minor act of appropriation or appreciation might be interpreted as racism, and this makes black K-pop stans mad. The next valid point is oppression. When a dominant group continues to stake aspects of the non-dominant culture, it continues the economic oppression and reinforces the balance between the groups. Some aspects of our culture become like an aesthetic, and the blatant is a good example of this. The third and final valid point is stereotypes. Appropriation creates nasty stereotypes about a culture, and one of the craziest stereotypes of blacks is the idea that we're all thick or just meaty pieces of bacon. Another example is the stereotype of all of us knowing how to rap or sing like Kanye West and Beyonce. These are ridiculous stereotypes, but let's be honest, we all have our stereotypes. This is harmful because when people from dominant cultures dress up like people of the minority, it reduces the cultural significance and makes them look like costumes. Having mentioned the 3 major reasons as to why cultural appropriation is wrong, I shall move on the next chapter. The term cultural appropriation is already losing its meaning in K-pop, and it's pretty obvious. Idols might decide to just braid corners of their hair, and we're already screaming cultural appropriation. To be honest, hair politics is fast becoming another issue that exacerbates the racial divide, and in all honesty, it doesn't make sense. What if white women raised an objection to black women wearing wigs or extensions with silky textures? What are we, the hair police, then going to do? Culture is meant to be shared, and while there are some important aspects of a culture that shouldn't be used as an aesthetic, I don't believe hair should be part. Remember, these are just my thoughts, and while I'm not supporting the actions of culture vultures like the Kardashians, I also don't think the outrage that occurs when a K-pop idol does cornrows is necessary. I'm aware that my thoughts are sort of controversial, since majority of black K-pop stans don't feel this way. But as long as there's no definite sign or proof that an idol was mocking blacks when they did cornrows, I simply don't care and won't waste my energy correcting them.